I'm going to attempt to walk all the way across Nottinghamshire before the sun sets.
Where's the path? It's just mud.
So this is Sherwood Forest, where Robin Hood and his merry men used to hide. You might have heard some gunshots there. Hopefully they won't shoot me. I have no idea how I'm going to walk across these fields when it's pitch black. Good morning. It's just gone 8 o'clock on the 21st of December 2024, the shortest day of the year. And you join me outside Shirebrook railway station in Derbyshire for something a little bit different, because just across the road there is the border between Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. And when the sun rises officially at 17 minutes past 8, I'm going to attempt to walk all the way across Nottinghamshire to the border with Lincolnshire before the sun then sets. It's a distance of about 29 miles, and that sounds manageable on a nice summer's day, but because today is the shortest day of the year, we've got just 7 hours and 30 minutes of daylight to do it. All that's left to do, I suppose, is to wait for sunrise. As the gloomy clouds lingered on the morning of this winter solstice, I readied myself for an epic walk, and as sunrise approached, I was overflowing with confidence.
Oh, this is a bad idea. It's gonna get dark and I'm only get halfway across the county. Who knows? Right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8:17 a.m. Let's begin. And we begin by walking down a scary path, because I think this is a road bridge. It was indeed a road bridge, and by passing under it, I'd be making my way out of Derbyshire and into the county I planned to cross in its entirety before darkness fell. We're officially in Nottinghamshire. 7.5 hours to Lincolnshire, well, if we succeed. The plan was to make my way eastwards from the Derbyshire border towards Sherwood Forest, and then head southeast across the heart of Nottinghamshire, passing by the ruins of the once mighty Rufford Abbey, through a number of charming villages, and then into the major town of Newark-on-Trent, before a final push towards the village of Barnby-in-the-Willows, on the border with Lincolnshire. All of that lay far ahead though, and with daylight having barely seeped through the morning clouds, I made my way through my first Nottinghamshire village, before then emerging into the first of many, many fields that I'd be crossing during the day. This is the first sort of field we've been through, but the mud, which is something I was worried about because it rained overnight, the mud doesn't seem too bad. It's a bit muddy, but yeah, we've got to walk quickly today. I've decided to wear trainers rather than my normal walking boots. I hope that by wearing trainers, I should be able to walk a little bit quicker. We'll see. Yeah, this was a decision that would come back to haunt me. In fact, just 30 seconds later, on the other side of the very same field... Yeah. Talk about jinxing it. There's meant to be a bridge here somewhere. There wasn't, and the result was inevitable. Yeah. Oh dear. Having only been moving for half an hour, and with my feet already thoroughly sodden, I stumbled over more muddy terrain beside the small river Meaden, before some much welcome tarmac came my way, as I entered the town of Market Warsop. First proper town, a place called Market Warsop. I think it's one of the larger towns that we're going through. Merry Christmas, by the way. 4 days to go, as it stands. What did you ask for? some new shoes were top of my list to Santa by the end of this day. But for now, I could make good progress through the streets of Market Warsop, one of which began pointing me towards what promised to be the highlight of my walk.
Look at this. We're very much into Robin Hood country. When we get out the other side of this town, we're basically approaching Sherwood Forest. That's a bit quicker than I expected. I mean, Sherwood Forest is big. But yeah, that's sort of the next landmark up ahead.
I'd made great time through Warsop, and as I left the town, bound for the woods of Sherwood Forest, I was feeling confident of reaching the Lincolnshire border before sunset that afternoon.
So it's just gone 9:17, which means we've been going an hour. And I just checked my map, and so far I've walked 3.8 miles. Now, when I was planning this, I did some calculations to see how fast I would need to walk to reach Lincolnshire by sunset. And as far as I can tell, the average speed I need across the whole walk is 3.8 miles an hour, so we are right on pace. But we have to sustain this speed for another 6 hours.
It was a tall order, but within reach. And as the trees of Sherwood began to grow denser, I felt there was nothing ahead which could slow me down, or even make me want to turn around.
You might have heard some gunshots there. There seems to be some sort of grouse shoot or pheasant shoot or whatever going on. I mean, I chatted to one of the guys just back there, 10 men holding shotguns with, packs of Labradors around them. I chatted to them for a moment. So, they seem friendly. Hopefully they won't shoot me.
Undeterred at the thought of being mistaken for a 5'9" tall pheasant, I ventured deeper into Sherwood Forest, a magnificent part of Nottinghamshire which once stretched far beyond the county's borders.
So this is Sherwood Forest, where I've never been. I'm very excited to be here, first time. It looks pretty huge here, all around us, but it's tiny compared to what it used to be, certainly in Robin Hood's day. The forest, or sort of what remains of it, is largely contained within Nottinghamshire's borders. In fact, I think it's entirely within this county. But it used to be much, much bigger. If you know Yorkshire at all, there's a village up on the Cleveland coast near Whitby called Robin Hood's Bay. And they say that the forest, Sherwood Forest, used to extend all the way up there. It's about 100 miles north of here. And they named that village after Robin Hood, apparently because he saved the villagers from Vikings or French raiders or something. But that's a long way from where we are now. And again, Mr. Hood's home should be a short way down this path.
Indeed, within the modern-day scope of this famous forest, there is one landmark which draws people from far and wide.
So we've made it to the Major Oak. That's the thing I was looking forward to most on this walk. So that's the tree, as they say, where Robin Hood and his merry men used to rest, used to hide from the Sheriff of Nottingham when they were outlaws. Did Robin Hood exist? If he did, it was around sort of 800 years ago, early 13th century. This tree is obviously around 800 years old. Some say it's even 1,000 years old. And you might notice on the tree, there's all these sort of poles, see, propping the tree up. And that's because it's so old that they built them to support the tree. It was the Victorians who did it first, but apparently, although it was well intentioned, those poles have not actually helped the tree. They've sort of caused it to rot and die and not live in the way that it would have naturally done so. So apparently the tree is sort of on its last legs at the moment. So if you're here, if you get to pass through Sherwood Forest, do stop by, because who knows how long the Major Oak will be about.
Now, I wish I could claim to know all this information about the Major Oak by hand, but the truth is that, as I was walking through the forest towards the tree, I bumped into a local lady called Helen, who happened to work in Sherwood Forest.
She told me everything that I needed to know about the tree and Sherwood Forest. Really, really interesting. About how this forest used to be huge, how it's being maintained. So thank you, Helen, if you're watching.
Helen and I had chatted for a good 20-25 minutes, and I did my best to soak up all the valuable information being given my way. But in the meantime, my average pace had inevitably slowed, and as the clock ticked over to 10:15, signalling 2 hours on the move, I realised that I needed to avoid getting distracted if I was going to make my end goal by sunset.
Cool. That's really cool. We do have to stop dilly-dallying because we are on a schedule, but that's really cool. St Mary's Church, where Robin and Marion got married. Lovely.
I passed by plenty more tempting points of interest as I made my way through the rest of Edwinstowe, a delightful village. But soon enough I was out into the fields again, and having spent much more time in Robin Hood's village than planned, I began considering the effects it would have later in the day.
The one thing I don't want to do is just end up walking in the countryside into pitch black. That's the thing we're trying to avoid. So even if we don't make it, hopefully we can get there before it gets really dark.
With a long stretch of open countryside ahead though, I felt I could make the time up. All I needed to do was stick to the path.
According to the map, there is a path here. Where exactly, I'm not sure.
I'd strayed wildly off course, and became even more confused when this thick forest gave way to a pristinely tarmacked road.
Look at this beautifully tarmacked road. Why? Ah, I've realised why it's so nice.
Heading straight into Centre Parks was obviously not the way to go. But I soon found the path, and after a quick look at the local wildlife,
Pigs!
I began to cover good ground. Speeding across the countryside, I'd had to miss a stop at the ruins of the once mighty Rufford Abbey. And having made my way through the pleasant village of Eakring, I then set my sights on the next landmark on the map.
Okay, Maplebeck. I'm glad to see a village, I'm glad to see a nice church like that. Can I get out of the churchyard? I believe it's 2 more villages until we get to Newark, which is the big town. So this is where push comes to shove, basically.
Indeed, as I made my way out of Maplebeck, the clock hit 1:45, giving me just 3 hours before sunset at 4:45. I'd made good progress over the last few miles, but as I consulted my map, I realised that there were more than 13 miles still to go. And to complete them all, I'd need to walk at an average pace of more than 4 miles an hour.
It's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen.
Unless I could find a shortcut, or maybe even run the final leg, it seemed like the sun was going to win this race across Nottinghamshire. So to take my mind off this seemingly impending doom, I turned to an ever-reliable topic of conversation.
One thing I haven't mentioned is just how warm it is. We're in a field in the Midlands 4 days before Christmas. It's like 11 degrees with beautiful blue skies.
I had been blessed with some wonderful winter weather on this day, and as the clouds continued to clear, I made my way past the beautiful Beesthorpe Hall, a 16th century country house, on my way into the next village.
I mean, this place is gorgeous. It's really lovely.
As lovely as it was, though, I couldn't hang around. And as I once again returned to the fields on the other side of Cornton, I encountered a bit of a problem.
Where's the path? Oh, God, it's just mud. What do I do?
I had no choice but to head into the mud. Progress across the field was slow, and to make matters worse, this was actually an improvised detour from my pre-planned route, which had originally directed me along the Newark Road, a 60-mile-an-hour road with no pavement. For safety's sake, I chose to avoid the main road, but this detour through the fields added an extra mile and a half. And after venturing through one particularly dicey field, which also included an improvised river crossing, this all felt like the nail in the coffin for my chances of reaching the Lincolnshire border by sunset.
It's just gone 20 past 2, 6 hours on the move, and we are without hope. Let's put it like that. We won't make it, barring some miracle, to the Lincolnshire border before the sun sets. And it's depressing to say that, but I have had a lovely walk. I will finish it.
Having accepted my fate, my mind now turned to reaching the border before complete darkness. And as I made my way through the village of Kelham, I began to near the last major event on my walk before the final push.
In the distance, I can see the church tower. Now, it is a tall church. I don't know if you can see it there. In the very far distance, see that spike? And that's in the centre of Newark. I've been to Newark before, and we're what, a mile, maybe a mile and a half away?
It really wasn't far to Newark, the largest urban area that I'd passed through all day. And apart from a brief horse-related hiccup on the outskirts of town...
Hello, horsey, I'm sorry. We'll have to go around somehow.
I soon rolled in, to be greeted by perhaps Newark's most impressive landmark of all.
I love Newark Castle, it's so impressive. Significant too. It's a nice greeting.
Newark is a town filled to the brim with history. King John died inside the castle back in 1216. Newark was once a major centre of England's medieval cloth industry, and most famously the town was subjected to some of the most intense sieges by the parliamentarians during the English Civil War, back in the 1640s. I'd have loved to stop off to admire all of this heritage, but with sunset fast approaching, I made my way to the eastern side of town.
We've got 15 minutes till sunset. We're not going to do it by any chance. We've still got just over 4 miles to go. Should be about an hour to the end then. It's probably going to be dark. It's not what I want. We won't be able to see the nice church at the end.
Time had all but run out, and although I was still determined to complete the whole route and reach the Lincolnshire border, I couldn't stop the inevitable.
Okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We failed. I failed officially. I'm nowhere near Lincolnshire. Well, I'm 3 miles away. It's 3:47. The sun has officially set. It's been 7 hours and 30 minutes since we set off from Sherwood this morning, and we haven't finished. It's a fail. A conclusive fail.
I had failed, and I was also now on course to finish the walk in total darkness. So to celebrate this crushing blow, I decided that now was the time to do something I hadn't done in 7.5 hours.
I have not sat down in 7.5 hours. I've not stopped in 7.5 hours. Oh, that feels good.
With the sun waving its final goodbye behind me as it dipped below the horizon, I rested here for a good 5 minutes, which felt like 5 hours, before I then got up and continued to make my way eastwards towards Lincolnshire. The village of Coddington was the last settlement I'd passed through before the border village of Barnby in the Willows. But soon enough I was out into the fields for the final 2.5 miles.
I have no idea how I'm going to be able to walk across these fields when it's pitch black. How will I know where the gate is? I don't even know where I'm going now and it's still sort of light.
You see, I'm from the city, and walking across muddy countryside fields in total darkness is not a skill you tend to develop while strolling down Oxford Street. And so as the light began to dim ever quicker, even the local residents of this field knew I was a fish out of water.
These sheep think I'm weird, and they're not wrong. I just looked at my watch. It's 4:17. We've been on the go 8 hours, and we've still got 2 miles to go to the border.
After almost 30 miles of walking, 2 miles should have felt like nothing. But I'll be honest, making my way through these final fields and a rather unsettling dark forest,
Not fun.
it seemed to go on for an age. But eventually, under total cover of darkness, I reached my final village in Nottinghamshire.
Can you read that? Can you read it? It says Barnby. Welcome to Barnby in the Willows. A beautiful village, I'm sure, during the day. Home of a pub, which I'm definitely going to go into, and a church, the border of which marks the border between Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire.
It did. And with just a few hundred yards left, the quiet streets of Barnby greeted me with open arms, the Christmas lights twinkling as I reflected on what had been a long but hugely enjoyable walk. I'd travelled the width of Nottinghamshire, through Robin Hood's domain in Sherwood Forest, across vast fields, through delightful villages, into little rivers, and even underneath a few hedgerows. And although I'd by no means achieved my goal of crossing the county before sunset on the shortest day of the year, I was at least going to reach the Lincolnshire border.
Oh my god. Here we are. Here we are. That's the church. Now we have to find the bridge over the River Witham. It's a footbridge which will take us into Lincolnshire, and I'm hoping it's down here somewhere. There it is. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There you go. This is the bridge which takes us out of Nottinghamshire. That's the river which forms the border between Nottinghamshire on the right and Lincolnshire on the left. And in total cover of darkness, a conclusive failure, we can try and open this gate and step into Lincolnshire. Success! Sort of.
I had made it. After 8 hours and 35 minutes of walking, and a final distance of 30.5 miles from my start point in Derbyshire, I had crossed Nottinghamshire, and was now standing in a field in Lincolnshire.
We started 8 hours and 35 minutes ago. We finished. We have crossed Nottinghamshire. We did not, as you can tell, cross before sunset. By any means. Nature won in this epic, pointless contest. But hopefully, you'll agree that I can claim a very respectable second place. I'm so tired. But thank you. If you are still watching, I'm amazed. I'm very grateful, so thank you very much for watching. This is totally different to the normal stuff. We will still have normal tours on the channel, but if you would like to see more stuff like this, and I'd like to do some, maybe not quite this intense, but something like this, please let me know. That's all there is to say. I'm going to go to the pub.
And that's exactly what I did. I spent a good hour and a half in Barnby's delightful Willow Tree pub, before a taxi took me back to Newark, where I caught my train home. It had been a wonderful day, tiring, muddy, and a comprehensive failure, and I hope you had as much fun watching this walk as I did undertaking it. As I said, if you enjoyed this kind of video, very different to our usual fare, then please let me know. Normal service will of course be resumed shortly, but in the meantime, all that's left for me to say is a big thank you to Nottinghamshire, and an even bigger thank you to you for watching.